Hi and welcome back to my channel, and thank you for coming back. Really do appreciate it. It does mean a lot to me. So the video that I'm going to be doing today is just a quick one on how to make a couple of cards. So one was I call it a double Z fold card and a Dutch fold, Dutch door fold. So the first one I'm going to do is the template or the design for the double Dutch fold. Okay, so not that sheet. So I need a piece that is, this piece here is 6 this way by 12 inches this way, and then when you put it on your trimmer you need to cut it so that it's at the 3-inch mark. So this edge, this white edge, is at the 3-inch mark on your trimmer. So at the top you'll have your centimetres, and then the row underneath will be your inches. So if you put it up to the 3-inch mark and then you cut that away at the 3-inch mark, then you're left with your other bit, which is your main part, which will be your Dutch fold bit. So you bring in your scoreboard. So I have the larger scoreboard, and then you can score it at the 3 mark, like so, and then you fold that bit over and you give it a score. And then you bring in this bit and you do this bit at, bring in your trimmer again, close that up because you don't need that bit, bring it up to the 3-inch mark, 3.5-inch mark, sorry, so you've got half an inch for your tab, and then the other way it should be 3, so this way it should be 3, so you need it 3 this way, and then this way you need it 3.5. Okay, you need 2 of them, but you can only get 1 out of that little bit that I've just cut off. So you score that, and you score that at the 3-inch mark. So then you score that along to there. This is one of your doors, which goes onto here with some red liner tape, and then that one goes across like so. So to get another one, you need another piece of card, and I'm going to cut this down at the 3.5-inch score line, like so, and then you take a piece there and you cut that at 3, discard that bit, and then this is going to be the Dutch fold again, or the score bit. So the 3.5-inch bit there, score across, fold it over, and then score down. Oops. And then this is going to come across, so you put that bit there, and then you score and put that onto this side as well. So that's your Dutch fold. You can have it so it's a little bit longer, which means using a bigger piece of card, but the first ones I did was on the 6x6. So that is that on there. So I can do that again if you like. I can show you another one, which I can do it out of this. So this is an A3 sheet, 300 GSM. And what you're going to do with this one is you're going to cut this down to the 12-inch mark, which is going to be there. You'd have that bit left, which is there, and then you turn this around and you do it at the 6. So that gives you your height and your width of the card. So then when it's sitting onto your trimmer, it will sit on a trimmer. When it sits on your scoreboard, it'll sit like so. So you'll have the 0 there, and then it'll be 12 up to there. And then you score at the 6-inch mark. Then you bring your trimmer in, bring it back in, and then you score, sorry, not score, you cut this down at the 3-inch mark. Just move that to the side. So on here it's a bit hard, so there you'll see the score line, and then score it over like so, bring it in like so. So that's that score. And then the other bits that you need is 3.5 by 3. So again, I can only get the one bit out of that one, and you do this with the offcut that you've had, trim it down to 3.5 if it's not 3.5, which that one is, and then trim that down to 3 like so. So you end up with your two pieces that look like little squares. So remember, 3 inches this way by 3.5 that way. Same on that one, 3.5 that way by 3 that way by 3.5 along the top. I do hope that this is all making sense. And then you put them on your scoreboard, score at the 3-inch. So this will be sitting from 0 to 3.5, and then the score mark will be there, so you score at the 3. Same if you've got the smaller scoreboard as well, and then you fold them, give them a good burnish, give that one a good burnish, and then that's your other doors that go on the front of here, like so. So when you've got your red liner tape on, you just adhere them, and that is away you go. So, although saying that, this card actually looks slightly different, so I'm going to redo that one, because that piece of card that I'm using looks like a slightly different shade of white. The other one's a bit brighter, so I'm just going to redo this one. Let's turn that around, because it doesn't seem to be very straight that way. Oops. So I'm going to redo that. I'm going to take that to 3.5. Cut that down there, disregard that bit, and then do this to 3. Make sure it's butt up close. Just move that out of the way. Bring that in on your scoreboard. Do it at the 3-inch. That's better, matches a bit better. And then score on the other side. So now that card is like the same shade. Okay, so that is the second Dutch fold, the same size. And I'm sure if you wanted to, you could do them on a different scale. So I'm just going to try and do one on a different size. So again, A3. And then we're going to do this one as a 7-inch Dutch fold. So you go up to the 14-inch on your scoreboard with your A3 piece of cardstock. And this A3 cardstock can be bought from Amazon. And it's the plain white card. Like this. One side seems to be whiter than the other side for some reason. So then, because this won't go back in my scoreboard, I'll have not my scoreboard, back inside into my trimmer, because it's too wide this way, too long this way, sorry. I have to do it this way around, so you know it's going to be 14, so it's going to come over there. So you need to score at the 7. I'm just going to go all the way down. Score at 7, and then when you trim this bit off, you need to put this back in and trim this off so that it's at the 3.5-inch mark on there, which is half of the size of the front of the card. And you trim down You can use this bit then for your Dutch fold, your doors. Just going to move that out of the way for a minute while I give this a burnish, and then I'm going to have to bring it back in on the trimmer so that I can cut the size down to the 7, like so. I'm going to bring it in my trimmer again, and you have to open the arm out, and then you do the cut there. You can still use that as a Dutch fold, you just need to know what the size is to be able to do that as a Dutch fold as well. So I'm just going to move that out of the way. And then this one is where you need to work it out. So you need to do a bit. So this is already 3.5. So you need to score this at... Now this is where it's going to be my trial and error, because I've not done one this size yet. So I'm just going to score this at 4. Cut this at 4, sorry. Just to see, I'm just going to bring you back in for the moment. You've done it at 4. So if I put this onto here, it's going to be 4 by 3.5. So you're going to score at the 1/2 inch mark. So you're going to score at 3.5. And then that's going to be your second door to go that side, and then we need to do the next one with the same. Cut it at 4 because the other way is already 3.5, and then you bring that in, put it onto there, so 3.5 down that way and then 4 that way, and then you score at 3.5. And then you fold it over, give it a good score down, bring in your other cardstock that you've already done, and that gives you your 2 doors there. Okay, so that is that one done. And then this one here, so if I just bring this one in, it's still going to be 7 this way, but it's only 4 3/4. So to make the folds and the doors a little bit easier to do, you go to the 4 inch mark, cut that excess piece, cut that excess piece off, like so. And then this bit here, so now it's 4 by 7, so this bit is still going to be actually no, because I cut it down, didn't I? So that's going to be the same as that. So it's still going to be 3.5, but the doors are only going to be half of whatever this size is here. So it's 4, so the doors are only going to be 2. So you need to do 2.5. So you need to get a piece of card again, which I think this one. You need to do it so it's 2.5 that way, and then it needs to be 3.5 this way, I think. I think I might have just made the boo-boo on that one, so I think it should have been the other way, but let me just see. No, it might be right. So then you score at 2, and then you fold over, score down, bring in your door, bring in your other card piece. So then you do another one for the other side. So I was right the first time, got it right for a change. So you get your other piece. So we've already cut this down to 3.5. So now it needs to be cut at. What did I say it needs to be cut at? 3.5 that way. Doubted myself then. And then you put it on your scoreboard, and then you score it at the 2. So you go over the edge by scoring at 2.5. Scoring at 2, sorry. So you cut it to 2.5. Oh dear, not doing very well. So 2.5. 2.5 along that way. No, sorry, 2.5. Yeah. So you cut it to 3.5 by 2.5, and then when you score it, you're scoring it at the 2. So it's 3.5 by 2.5. Them cut lines, and then this one goes onto this side, and this one goes onto this side, like so. Okay. So that is another Dutch fold. So the next thing that I'm going to show you is how to do a Z fold. So you need 2 pieces of this one, no, not that one. I think I've used them already. So for a Z fold you need, again, this is a 6 by 12, both sides, both ways. And then for a Z fold, what you have to do is get your score tool, and you have to score at the 3 and at the 6, just as if you're doing a easel card, okay? And then you'll score that over and fold it down, and hopefully it'll be straight. And score that down, and then you fold this one back on itself and give that a score down. So that is your Z, like so. So that's how it'll stand when it's done. And then to do your other bit, you get this, one of these, again, a 6 by 12 piece, or any cardstock that you've got that's 6, you can cut to 6 by 12. Then you cut it at the 2 inch score mark, 2 inch score, the 2 inch cut line on here, line it up on the 2 inch line. You just score it down, cut down rather, not score it down. And then you bring this onto your scoreboard, so you're going to do exactly the same scores. So you're going to do a 3 and a 6, and that is all you need to do. And then you have to fold and score these the opposite way to how your card was scored. So you're just scoring it that way, so it looks like that. So when you bring your card in, so this is your card, this is your little Z fold bit, and I've done it the wrong way, so it has to be scored back on itself like so. So that bit is underneath. So the Z bit here needs to be scored that way. So you've got the long bit at the front and the 2 bits that fold underneath that. Then you put that onto there, which you can either put it on there before you put all your decorations on, all your layers, and then you're not wasting your layers underneath, unless you're doing it where you've put that on and it's going to sit up a little bit higher. So you can put these anywhere you want, and they will fold flat to go into a envelope. So that is that one. So that's the 6 by 6 one, and I have done them on a 7 by 7 before, and I've done them on an 8 by 8, but I'm going to show you on a, what am I going to show you on? I can show you on an 8 by 8 actually. Just grab a piece of white cardstock again, and your trimmer first, So open that out, and then you cut this piece of cardstock to 16, so that gives you your 8x8 size. This one must be shorter than the others for some reason. Normally when I'm oh, it's the other way, I have to cut it off, so ignore me for that bit. So 16, this is where it gets harder. If you've got a guillotine, then cut it down to the 16x8, and I've lost my score tool. So for this one, you score at 4 all the way down, score at 8 all the way down, and then I'm just going to fold this over to half of the size, so it's 8x8 this way, hopefully it'll line up. Sometimes when you're doing a bigger card, getting it to line up doesn't always go to plan. So there you have that there. Then you bring in your trimmer, stick that under, pull the arm out, find the 8-inch mark on here, so line that up onto the 8-inch, make sure it's all straight, cut that down. You might have to give it a couple of thingy wingies on there, make sure it's 8 this way, which it is. And then bring that out, and we're going to score that, fold that over to give you your Z fold there, and that's the big 8x8. And then this bit here, you can cut this down, so you can do it at 2 inches, you can do it at 3 inches, you can do it at 4 inches if you wanted to. I think I'm going to keep mine to, I'm going to try and keep mine to an even number. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to score this at 2, trim this at 2, sorry, and hopefully this other one, so this other one's slightly smaller, so it's not quite 2. So what I'm going to do with this one, so this one is not going to be, this one's going to be a little bit more different. It's still going to be a double Z fold, or you can call it a triple Z fold. Just going to put them over to there for now. Same principle before, you've got it this way, turn it, score it, and then score. So you've got them scores there. And then this goes this way around. Oops. Just need to score that again. Okay. And you bring that in, put that onto there. So that is how that's looking. Quite a big card, yes I know. It's like that. And then with this other bit that you've got, this little tiny one, this 1-inch piece, do exactly the same with your scores. Go underneath, give them a score down, fold that one back on itself, so it's like that. Bring in the card, and then you'll have that. Let's take this one off for a minute, cause then you can put this one, once I get it sorted in the right shape, because it's a bit smaller, and you adhere that you'd add that onto there with some red liner tape. You can put it right to the edge and all that, or if you wanted to you can put that one so it sits on there like that, which to me, I would do it when I put these two bits, when I put this bit on, I line it up over this side and then I stick it down so it's at that score line there, so the 4-inch score line. You don't need to stick it onto this bit, and then you just stick it on this side at the 4-inch score here, and you just stick that underneath. So you put the red liner tape onto this bit and then you stick that down to there. Make sure it's straight before you stick it down. When you're using red liner tape, I would use some adhesive as well, glue, so like your all-purpose glue or something like that. For when you're doing that, so that is that there and that's that there. I'm not going to show you any of the other sizes on that. I've shown you a 6x6 and an 8x8. So a 7x7 is not any different really. It's just a bigger card, smaller card in between the 6x6 and the 8x8. So there's, when you do a 7x7 you cut a 7x14 piece of cardstock, and then you'll score at the 3.5, and then you'll score at 7, fold, fold, so you got your Z, and then you do exactly the same with a 2-inch piece or 2.5 or 3-inch, depending on how big you want that other Z bit to be, and then you're away. So now what I want to show you is another style of card. I've not used it yet, but I've been practicing, well not practicing, I've been just looking on Pinterest for some different card shapes, and I have found a couple. Well, this is the third one that I've tried. I have played around with it, but let me just move these ones out of the way. Put them up there so they're all ready for me to go in the videos. So this is an A4 sheet, so unfortunately an A4 sheet doesn't go down to very good size. It goes down to 7 or 10, sorry. So you can cut down to 10, and this is what they call a joy fold. So you've got it at 10, and then you can do it at 5. So it's just scoring. The A4 sheets of card are good for doing like a DL, so you get an 8x5, which is like a DL size, or you could do it so it's 8x4. This one is going to be, so let me see. Um, 8x5, let's do 8x4 I think, or maybe a 5x5 or 5x7, what do you think? So that's 5 that way. Let's do a 5x7 I think. So that's 5x7. You still need to cut a bit of this off. You need to cut it at the halfway point. So if it's 5 across the top, it needs to be 2.5 cut in, like so. Okay, so you're still left with a bit of card like that. And then you need another piece of the A4. And then you need to score this one, so it needs to be slightly smaller than the one you've just done, but you still score at 5 for now. and then you cut this that way, cut this down to the 10, like so. Oops, I think I cut that the wrong way. Yes I did, but it doesn't matter. And then let's fold that over, flip the right side. So now I need that to be that size, which is 7. We'll score this, cut this down to 7. Like so. And then this is, the flat bit is 3 1/4 for some reason. So we're going to cut this bit here down to 3. No, the other way. Just cut this down to the size I'm trying to get it to. No, I don't want it to be 3. Let's do 3 1/2. No, that's still wrong. So this way it needs to be 6. It's because I've done that score line in the wrong place. Yeah, that score line's definitely in the wrong place. Okay, I'm going to do that bit again. I'm just going to cut that down to 6 and then I can use that one as a Dutch fold. So let's do this one. Let's cut this down to 10 this time. Do it before I put the score line in. And then that way I won't make any mistakes, will I? So I need to do this. Actually, still done it wrong. Do the 8, sorry. And then score at 4. And fold. Like so. Score that down. And I'm going to cut this one down to the 6 here. And then this is where your joy fold comes in. So you'd keep this one to the size that it is. And then you tuck that one under there and you tuck that over to there. And then that becomes your joy fold. So it's got an opening like that. And then like that. This is stuck down to there. And that is your joy fold. And turn that round the other way, I think. So one side of this card is smoother than t'other. And you can do that with any size card as well. You can do the other card that sits inside as big or as small as you like. So that is the 3 card shapes that you can do with a card blank. So you've got your joy fold there, and your joy fold there, one of your Dutch folds, another Dutch fold which is a 7x7, 6x6 Dutch fold, a 6x6 Z fold, and then your 8x8 Z fold with your 2 Z stand rim frames to hold the card up. So that is it for this one. Hopefully the lady that did ask me will get around to having a look, and hopefully it makes a lot of sense. If they don't make sense, you can drop me a message, and I will answer them as best as I can, because I'm still learning how to make different card shapes and all that. So, and then I've seen that this one, these cutting cards like this, little step cards that have these little bits in it, like that cutaway bit or whatever you want to call them. I still struggle to do that kind of card at the moment, but that one I've learned. So that's just my template, so that I know what I'm doing with that one. So I'm just having a drink. So yeah, that is it for this fun card, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that video. This will be in a sub folder or whatever it's called on YouTube. My brain with the how-to. This would be the how-to bit. So yeah, and that is it for this video, guys. Once again, thanks for your support, thanks for your lovely messages, do really appreciate that. Till next time, take care and happy crafting. Bye bye for now.